the United States used to be called a Christian country. But we have people that were in high office who said, no, this was never based on Christianity, and said a lot of things that the world really wanted to hear so that the world could get worse. And the laws changed so that the world could get worse. You know, the thing is that people have to realize that Jesus actually came for the poor. Why? It's because when people tend to get money, they tend to get things and they don't rely on God as much. They start, that's why Jesus said it's really hard for a rich man to enter into heaven. Because they depend upon money to help them instead of depending upon God. I love that song. I'd rather have Jesus than anything. And that's really where we should be standing. So Jesus had a hard time preaching to those that were rich because they didn't want to hear what he had to say. They felt they had everything. So Jesus' job, he thought his job was to come and preach the gospel to the poor. Jesus said he came for the poor. In Matthew 11:5 it says, the blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. Isn't that great? The poor has the gospel preached to them. Why? Because the poor was the one that was surrounding Jesus mostly to hear what he had to say, because they had nothing and he offered everything to the poor. Jesus didn't come for the rich because they didn't really want to listen to him. He came for the poor. John the Baptist was wondering if Jesus was the Messiah that the prophecy in the Old Testament talked about. Was he the one? Well, he was wondering that because John the Baptist was in jail. And it wasn't a good outlook where he was. And he was thinking, well, if Jesus was coming, he was the Messiah. Well, he thought that the Messiah was going to set up a government right then and get them out of the reigns of the Roman Empire. But no, that wasn't what Jesus was coming for his kingdom for. His kingdom was going to come later. But he came to preach the gospel to the poor. So John the Baptist wondered if Jesus was Messiah that the prophecy told about. This is the answer that Jesus said. Then Jesus answering said unto them, go your way and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and to the poor the gospel is preached. In the slums of New York, a preacher named Jim Cymbala talked about his experience there. It was Easter Sunday. He said he was so tired at the end of the day that he just went to the edge of the platform. He pulled down his tie. He sat down and he draped his feet over the edge. Oh, he preached his heart out. People were coming down to the altars, and the workers that went down to help those to receive Jesus As a person, oh, he was so tired, he gave himself out. So when you remember when Jesus, the woman touched the hem of his garment, he felt the strength come out of him. Well, that's what happens when you preach under the Holy Ghost. You preach and you give it all, and you're so tired at the end of it because you exhausted it. You gave everything you could for Jesus, given the ministry, hoping that some not too tired would hear the gospel. Some not falling asleep on you would hear the gospel of God because you gave it all. Well, that's what Jim did. He gave it all. And he had such a great response because people heard. They didn't go to sleep on it. They heard the gospel. And they were coming down to the altar, and the workers were working, saving those who wanted Jesus. It was a wonderful service, with many people coming forward. The counselors were talking with these people. He was sitting there, he looked up the middle aisle, and there in about the third row was a man who looked about 50, disheveled and filthy. He looked at me rather sheepishly, as if saying, "Could I talk to you?" We have homeless people coming in all the time asking for money or whatever. So I sat there and said to myself, though I am ashamed of it, what a way to end this Sunday. Everything would seem to be coming out so well, and people were coming to the altar asking for Jesus, and yet here this man didn't come down to the altar. I think he wants money. What a way to end the service with someone just asking for money. I've had such a good time preaching and ministering, and here's a fellow probably wanting some money for more wine. He walked up. When he got within 5 feet of me, I smelled a horrible smell. It was actually worse than rat smell. You know what rodent smell smells like? There's a lot of people left because of rodent smell. They were scared of the rodents. I wonder if they could have saved anybody. He had a terrible, horrible smell. It was so awful that when he got close, I would inhale by looking the other way. And I talked to him, and then I had to look away to inhale again because I couldn't inhale thinking he smelled so bad. I wonder if anyone that left because of rodents would be able to have saved this man. Is there trust in God so small? You know, I remember my dad in California, a drunk that had been throwing up. He had throw up all over him. Come to the church, was asking for money. He was asking for it. He wasn't asking for God. And thinking the church was a welfare place. It's not. My dad said to him, goes, I don't have any money for you, but I do have Jesus. And here he was, he stunk, he smelled, he was drunk, had alcohol on him and throw up on him. My dad just put his arms around him, walked him down to the altar. All that filth, all that smell, prayed for him right there. The people couldn't hardly stand it. They were standing back. But my dad had his arm around him, praying for him, because he wanted him to have Jesus. He knew what it was to be drunk. He knew what it was to be filthy. But he wanted him to have what changed his life. What was it? It was Jesus. Well, this pastor, he asked him what his name was. He said, David. He said, how long you been on the street? He said, 6 years. How old are you? 32. He looked 50 with his hair matted, front teeth missing. He was a wino, his eyes slightly glazed. So where did you sleep last night, David? He said, an abandoned truck. I kept my back pocket a money clip that also holds some credit cards. I fumbled to pick one out thinking I'll give him some money. Don't you ever do that. Don't give money to those who don't believe in Jesus. Give them a chance. Show them the light. Tell them, like Peter said, when the man was on there, he was crippled, asking for a alms. Peter says, gold is, have I none. But such as I have, give I thee. What was that? Jesus held out his hand, prayed for him, and he was healed. When people need Jesus, they don't keep them on the street by giving them money. This pastor was wrong. He shouldn't even have thought of giving them money. So he fumbled to pick one out thinking, I'll give him some money. Oh, wrong thing to do. Says, well, I won't even get a volunteer. They're all busy talking with others down at the altar. Usually we don't give money to people. We take them to eat something or take them out to eat. Well, that's okay if you're talking about Jesus. But if they keep coming asking for food or asking to be taken out and they're not accepting Jesus, it's time to stop. Jesus fed 5,000, and then he fed 4,000 people. And these people that were fed, Jesus left and went to another island. They were looking for Jesus, and they found him and said, Jesus, where was you? He said, you didn't come to see me for the Word of God. You came to see me for your stomach. And you know that Jesus never fed another soul after that, ever. Why? Because he's saying they were coming only for the food and not for salvation. People that are giving clothing and food to people on the street without giving them Jesus is wrong. The gospel tells us that's not right. You don't do that. So he took out the money out. David pushed his finger in front of me. He said, I don't want your money. I want this Jesus. The one you were talking about. Because I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die on the street. I completely forgot about David and I started to weep for myself. I was going to give a couple of dollars to someone God had sent to me to find Jesus. See how easy it is? Oh, it's too much of my time. I have to make too much effort for God and Jesus. Jesus, who gave his life, was beat for you, shed his blood, and it's just too much effort. I can't make the excuse I'm tired. There is no excuse. I was not seeing him the way God sees him. I was not feeling what God feels. But oh, did that change. David just stood there. He didn't know what was happening. I plead with God to forgive me. Forgive me, God. Please forgive me. I am so sorry to represent you this way. I am so sorry. Here I am with my message and my points, and you sent somebody and I'm not ready for it, oh God. Something came over me. Suddenly I started to weep deeper, and David began to weep. He fell against my chest as I was sitting there. He fell against my white shirt and tie, and I put my arms around him. And there we wept on each other. The smell of his person became a beautiful aroma. This is what the Lord made real to me. If you don't love this smell, all right, I can't use you, because this is why I called you where you are. This is what you are about. You are about the smell. You need to love someone past whatever it is and put your arms around them so they can find Jesus. Christ changed David's life. He started memorizing portions of scriptures that were incredible. We got him a place to live. That's good after they found Jesus and they are coming to church like they're supposed to. That's good. We hired him in the church to do maintenance, and we got his teeth fixed. He was a handsome man when he came out of the hospital. They detoxed him in 6 days. Well, I wonder why he wanted to stop drinking. Do you think that was bad? No, he seen it was hurting his life. He needed to change. They detoxed him in 6 days. He spent that Thanksgiving at my house. He also spent Christmas at my house. When we were exchanging presents, he pulled out a little thing and he said, "This is for you." It was a white hanky. It was the only thing he could afford. A year later, David got up and talked about his conversion to Christ. The minute he took the mic and began to speak, I said, "The man's a preacher, I could tell." Yeah. This past Resurrection Day, we ordained David. He is an associate minister of the church over in New Jersey. And I was so close to saying, "Here, take this money." It's too much time, too much effort. I'm tired. Oh, I'm sleepy. Oh, I want to play some games. Oh, I want to go swimming. Oh, I got things I want to do. Friends are over. I'm a busy preacher we can get so full of ourselves and forget about Jesus completely. Are we full of ourselves? Or are we thinking of what we can do for Jesus? Lord, thank you for sending others our way. May we never stop seeing them as your precious children, no matter how busy or tired we become. Again, Jesus said, go your way and tell John what things you have seen and heard, how that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and to the poor the gospel is preached. Is your light shining? Are you going to know enough of the scriptures to know how to save someone? Is God sending you anyone your way? Think about why he's not. Maybe you're not ready for it. You need to get ready. You need to put Jesus first. God and Jesus is so good.